Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you today. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm Zach, and this is Boneheaded Sports, episode 24. Um, Today we're going to be recapping some of the Week 3 NFL games. I didn't have time to do my Week 3 predictions, so I'm sorry about that for all you guys. Should be able to do that for next week. Should figure out the time. But anyway, before we get started, I want to ask y'all, hope y'all having a great day. I woke up like an hour ago, so I'm nothing's really happened to this point, but I'm having a good day so far. I hope you are too. And thank you for coming out and listening. And make sure you subscribe on the YouTube, the Spotify, the iTunes. We're on Twitter and TikTok. And let's get started. So, we're going to start all the way back to Thursday night football. The Browns beat the Steelers 29-17. And first note, hold on, let me get some water before I start real quick. Sorry. So, the Browns, or let's start with the Steelers. Let's start with the Steelers. At this point, I believe that they need to put in Kenny Pickett for the Steelers. Their offense just isn't looking good behind Mitch Trubisky. It's just not flowing. Doesn't seem like they trust him. Their offensive line is also really bad, and their running game isn't good because of that. Um, if you go and watch the games, the receivers on the Steelers are getting open, but Mitch isn't delivering, or he just doesn't see them, or he doesn't get it to them when he needs to. Um, their defense looks as good as ever, or not as good as ever, but it looks better than what we thought it would be. But TJ Watt definitely missing. You could see that impact. Hopefully he comes back soon. But the rushing attack of the Steelers isn't doing them any justice. Mitch, I think it's time that they put in Kenny Pickett. I know that Mike Tomlin said that they don't plan on putting in Kenny Pickett anytime soon, but I think that they need to, or they very they should very soon. If Mitch continues to play like this. But on to the Browns. So going into the season, Deshaun Watson was suspended 11 games, and the Browns. I didn't think that they were gonna be that good without him. Credit to Kevin Stefanski and Jacoby Brissett and all of the team for being able to come out and start 2-1 without Deshaun. Um, Jacoby Brissett is doing a really good job of holding down the fort while Deshaun is gone. And Nick Chubb is playing phenomenally. He had 23 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. For some reason my throat's really dry, sorry. Um, and the Browns are just looking like they're well coached, well disciplined. The addition of Amari Cooper is looking like it's paying off really well. It looks like the the Browns might be competitive for the AFC North this season. I did not expect them to be competitive at all, and so far they're tied for first, like, with the Ravens right now. So good job for the Browns. Steelers, you got to start Kenny Pickett soon. You got to see what he is. I know you don't want to throw him into the fire yet, but he Mitchell Trubisky is not the answer. He's not the answer. So moving to Sunday, we're gonna start with the Texans and the Bears. So first off, I want to talk about Justin Herbert, not Justin Herbert, Justin Fields. Um, so what we've seen we haven't seen the flashes from Justin Fields yet. Um, and it seems like the coaching staff does not trust him. It he threw not. I think he attempted like 18 passes. Yeah, 17 pass. He was 8 for 17, 106 yards, two interceptions. Um, and the interceptions were his fault. Like they were bad interceptions. I mean, there's no such thing as a good interception, but if it's not your fault, I'm not gonna hold it against you. But it just doesn't look like they trust Justin Fields. They had him throw 11. They had him have 11 attempts against the Packers last week. 17 attempts against the Texans. They had 40 rushing plays, 40 to 17 passing plays. And to be fair, his weapons aren't the greatest, but you need to see what he is and not like you need to give him the chance to prove what he is. And they're just not giving him that opportunity. But they know that maybe they know what he is and just doesn't want people to see that yet because maybe they're still holding on for hope. But they're not letting Justin Fields develop. Like him throwing 17 passes a game isn't gonna help his development at all. Um, but their rushing attack looks really good. Their defense looks better than I thought it was gonna be. Honestly, the Bears, everything other than the passing game looks okay. Um, they're it just their passing attack. They have no weapons. Justin Fields doesn't look like he's developing to what we all thought he would be, and that's disappointing. And there's still time to prove himself, but for now, that's my opinion on it. He doesn't look like he looks like another Bears first round quarterback that isn't gonna work out. Um, but credit to Khalil Herbert also. He had himself a great day. He had 20 carries, 157 yards, two touchdowns. Really, really good. And he looks really good. And they have a great running back duo with David Montgomery and himself. Now, the Texans, not much to say here. Davis Mills doesn't seem like he's going to be the long-term answer. Seems like they're going to try to draft a quarterback. Damian Pierce had 20 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. I'm glad that they're starting to give him the majority of the load, and I don't really have much else to say about this game. But other than that, the Justin Fields needs to be better. He needs to be better. On to the Titans Raiders. So the Raiders are now officially the only 0-3 team in the NFL, and Derek Carr has looked really, really bad, or not as good as we thought he would be. McDaniels, I believe, should already be on the hot seat for what this team is looking like 3 weeks in. Their offense doesn't look as good as we thought. They went 10-7 last week or last year, got better, and are starting 0-3. And it's looking like they don't want Devontae to be involved. Like it doesn't look like they're scheming Devontae into the offense because they did week one, and then now it's looking like they want to be, oh, we're gonna show that we can win without Devontae or not just because of Devontae. And I don't think that that's a good strategy because you traded a first round pick for him, paid him a lot of money. You should be trying as much as you can to get him the ball. And that's just my philosophy. And the people that they brought in, or Chandler Jones isn't really being as advertised. Their defense is incredibly lacking. And they just don't look well coached either. McDaniels, he was the head coach of the Broncos a while ago for a season and a half. That did not work out well, and it looks like we might have another situation where he fails as a head coach. Um, and onto the Titans, they needed this win. They needed it. They starting 0-3 really, really wouldn't have been good for them. They almost did, but they just got the lead early, and never really. I mean, they didn't score a point in the second half, but they got up 24-10 at half. Never really. They just didn't let the Raiders complete the comeback. And good to Mike Vrabel for not blowing the lead. They got Derrick Henry going a bunch. He had 20 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown, and 5 catches for 58 yards. And just they got Derrick Henry involved, and they looked better on offense than what they have in the past. So on to probably one of the bigger upsets of the week. The Colts beat the Chiefs 20-17. So what surprised me about this game is that the Colts bounce back against the Chiefs of all teams. Um, it's honestly kind of ironic that they lose to the Jags and tie with the Texans and then beat the Colts. Matt Ryan leads a game-winning drive, but honestly, it was only because of that Chris Jones unsportsmanlike conduct. But their offense, Michael Pittman was back. Their offense looked a little bit better than what it has in the past. Jonathan Taylor looked okay. He had 21 carries for 71 yards. Not anything too amazing. Their defense looked really good. And credit to the Colts for coming out with this win. They got bailed out by that unsportsmanlike conduct, but Chris Jones don't do that. Don't go out there and talk a bunch of shit and not expect that to be called. Um, now for the now for the Chiefs. The Chiefs rushing game did not. They had. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was their leading rusher, and with 26 yards, like their rushing attack is not existent, at least in this game. Um, And it's starting to seem like the Chiefs are one-dimensional because they can't run really, and they have to throw the ball a whole bunch. And yeah, it's gonna work most of the time because you have Patrick Mahomes, but games like this, like it obviously it doesn't work every game. And Patrick Mahomes was 20 for 35 for 262 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. So overall, mediocre game from him. Um, and just hats off to the Colts for coming out with the win. They needed it. And yeah, on to the next game. I'm not going to really talk about this game because it's probably going to get me heated. It's Bills Dolphins. The Dolphins beat the Bills 21-19. And all I'm going to say is that the Dolphins won by 2 against the backup secondary, and the entirety of the team's Bills had a heat stroke, and I believe the Bills are still the better team. And I don't think it's close. I think put us in a neutral setting where the Bills aren't in the heat the whole game and the Dolphins are in the shade and all of our starters are healthy. We win this game by 20, and I don't think that's even a question. And yeah, on to the next game, Lions Vikings. The Vikings had me worried there. They came back. They were down 24-14 in the fourth quarter and scored 14 unanswered points. It was a good fourth quarter comeback, and it was a sad day for the Lions. I really was pulling for them in this game because I want to see them succeed, but I also like the Vikings succeeding. And for the Lions, the loss of Swift is won't I believe. I hate to say this, but it doesn't seem like they'll impact him that much because they don't give him the ball anyway. For some reason, they give him like 6 attempts a game. They give it all to Jamal Williams for some reason. But it just sucks no matter what way you look at it. Shout out to Jeff Okuda for who's having a really good start to the season. If corners could win comeback play of the year, he'd probably be in and running for it. He's looking really, really good, and most people don't look better coming off of an Achilles, but he's looking better than when he did his rookie season, and he's looking really good for this Lions defense. Now, my main concern for the Vikings is these past couple weeks they haven't Justin Jefferson hasn't been getting the ball, and when you're not giving your best receiver the ball, it tends to worry me. The coach should be scheming him open and trying to get him the ball any way they can, and it just looks like that's not being done. I mean, to be fair, he's being double, triple teamed, but you should still, as a head coach, be able, or offensive coordinator, be able to find a way to get him the ball. And also, Dalvin Cook got hurt in this game. Um, he's considered day to day with a shoulder injury, but this isn't anything new for Dalvin Cook. So hopefully he gets better. Maybe he'll come back next game. Who knows? Now, on to the Ravens Patriots. First off, the Ravens beat the Patriots 37 to 26, and Mac Jones has a high ankle sprain, and that's gonna sucks for the Patriots, sucks for Mac Jones. Mac Jones was 22 for 32 for 320 yards. He had three interceptions. He was not really playing. He hasn't really looked that good this season. The Patriots' offense hasn't really been anything to look at, like to be scared of this season, and neither has their defense. I think the only reason they're kind of staying afloat is because of Bill Belichick. If they had any other coach, they'd probably be 0-3 right now. And I firmly believe that. But on to Lamar Jackson. They need to pay that man. They need to pay that man now. Because what happens if he continues playing like this and wins the MVP, and then they have to pay him this boatload of money, and they're going to regret not paying him before the season starts? I'm going to be honest. Um, you're going to have to pay him more money if he wins MVP, and he basically is the entirety of the Ravens offense. Like he was their leading rusher, obviously was their leading passer. He had 11 carries for 107 yards, 29 attempts, 18 completions for 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. He had 5 total touchdowns on the day, and I believe he's the touchdown leader on the season out of like anybody. Um, he has, I don't know exactly how many, but he has a lot of touchdowns this season. And without him, this offense would be really, really bad, but Lamar Jackson is just playing out of his mind and is probably the MVP front runner right now. And it's incredible seeing what he can do with the ball in his hand. So, Bengals Jets, I'm just going to breeze past this game. Don't really have much to say. The Bengals bounced back. They couldn't afford to start 0-3. Would have been a lot of questions. My only thing about this game is why are the Jets having Joe Flacco throw 52 times? It blows my mind. They should be trying to run the ball more. I don't know why they have Breece Hall and Michael Carter, two really good running backs, and they're having Joe Flacco throw 52 times. Credit, they are down most of the game, but still, you can't let Joe Flacco throw 52 times. Nothing really is going to come out of that. But on to the Eagles versus the Commanders. The Eagles beat the Commanders 24 to 8. Um, so we're going to talk about the Eagles. They look like the best team in the NFC right now. They look unstoppable. Their rushing attack phenomenal. Their passing attack phenomenal. Jalen Hurts is looking really, really good. And he's also up there in the MVP running, probably around 2 or 3, right behind Lamar Jackson. Um, And getting that AJ Brown really opened up this offense. Jalen Hurts is looking absolutely phenomenal. Their defense is looking phenomenal. And credit to the GM, credit to Nick Sirianni. But we can't talk about the Eagles without first talking, or about at least talking about Devontae Smith. He had 8 receptions, 169 yards, and a touchdown. Went absolutely off this game, and I believe that this was his game to show the world that he arrived, that he is here, and it's not just the A.J. Brown show. Devontae Smith is also here to be phenomenal. And they just have two really, really good weapons. They have a great tight end, great quarterback, great O-line, great defense. There's nothing about the Eagles that I don't like. Like they're good at every position. They have no holes. Their D-line's good. The linebackers are good. Their corners are good. Their safeties are good. Like everywhere you look is just talent, and it's the coach is good. Like everything about this team is good, and they're scary, and I think that they can really compete for a Super Bowl this year if they keep playing like this. Um, all credit to the Eagles, but we do need to talk about the Commanders a little bit. Um, if they want Carson Wentz to be successful, they need to get a better O line. He had no time in the pocket, was constantly under pressure. They sacked Carson Wentz 9 times, and I'm not blaming Carson Wentz for this. Like, if you're getting sacked 9 times, there's obviously something wrong there. And I mean, what's weird about this game is that the Eagles scored all 24 of their points in the second quarter, and that's it. And the Commanders scored their points in the fourth quarter. It that's just it's weird that the Eagles scored 24 points in one quarter and then just did nothing the rest of the game. But that's really all they needed to do to win. Um, but back to the Commanders. Yeah, like I was saying, if they don't get him an offensive line, at least or at least try to trade for an offensive lineman. Ooh, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough because I mean, Carson Wentz already kind of has a fumbling problem, and if he gets sacked 9 times, that's not gonna get any better because he had 2 fumbles this game. But honestly, I'm not really too mad at Carson Wentz. He probably did the best he could. Um, when you're getting sacked 9 times and pressured every single snap, there's not really much you can do. Now on to the Saints and Panthers game. The Panthers beat the Saints 22-14, and I'm officially hitting the panic button on the Saints. I had them winning this division, being better than the Bucks, 'cause on paper they should be, and that's what's really concerning to me. Their offense is absolutely loaded with weapons, but yet they can't seem to score. Alvin Kamara isn't looking like that number 1 running back like he has in the past. Their O line is very, very not good, and Jameis looks like old Jameis and not the good version of Jameis that we saw last year. He's looking very sloppy, not making good decisions, not hitting throws, and I don't know I don't know how the Saints figure this out, but they need to. And if they figure out this offense, they could still come and be a really good team. Um, but until that point, they're just gonna they're lost to the Panthers. They have way more talent than the Panthers and should win 9 out of 10 times basically. And this was the one time that they did. But shout out also to Chris Olave. He had 9 catches for 147 yards, and he looked really good. I don't really have much to say about the Panthers. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, Laviska Shenault had 2 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. He had a 67-yard touchdown, and sure, this is like his career highlight so far, but you can't Like that always is just something incredible. He just ran past everybody somehow. Like no one even tried to touch him, and he just ran 67 yards for that touchdown. I'm getting some water. Give me a second. Now, the Panthers defense also came to play. Um, their defense looked really good. Um, and credit to the Panthers for this win. I thought they were going to lose, but NFL every given weekend. So on to, we're going to start the 4 o'clock slate. The Jaguars beat the Chargers 38-10, and I have a good amount to say about this game. Now, the Jaguars came to play, and they looked better coached throughout the entire game. The entire game. Um, James Robinson had 17 carries, 100 yards. Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to sit and talk about Trevor Lawrence. I think that he is very close to being a top 10 quarterback, and I mean that with all seriousness. He's looked very, very phenomenal this season. He was 28 for 32 for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 71 and a rating of 115. He looked efficient, accurate, made good decisions, has the best pocket presence in the NFL in my opinion. Um, and credit to credit to Doug Peterson. Credit to Doug Peterson. He looks like the coach that this team needed, and his offense is really really good and is making the Jags competitive, and like Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, both brought in this offseason, are both looking good and worth their contract, which is surprising to say, but they're it looks like they're worth the money. You have to pay people more extra money to come to Jacksonville, and it looks like it's working out for them. Evan Ingram also a big pickup. He didn't have a big game this game, but last game has been really good. Um, Jaguars, all credit. Your defense also played really, really well. Um, they had they only had 1 sack, but they held the Chargers to 10 points. So all credit to the Jags. I think that they can be competitive this year and win the AFC South. I know that's not saying a lot because the AFC South is always like in shambles this year, but they're 2-1, and they can be competitive this year. They're doing a lot. They're a lot better than I thought they would be this far into the season. Um, but we need to transition to the Chargers. Um, their offensive weapons are starting to worry me. Keenan Allen is hurt and seems to be injury prone these past couple of years. Mike Williams isn't a wide receiver one, so without Keenan Allen, this even with Keenan Allen, this wide receiver core is kind of mediocre. Um, they have no explosiveness. I mean, Mike Williams will get you that 60-yard bomb once or twice a game, but Keenan Allen is not going to get you that 70-yard touchdown. He's just a slant boy. Um, but I think it's more Joe Lombardi not scheming up this offense to have Yak. It's all like it's a slant. It's like he's still playing with Drew Brees. I think he was Drew Brees' offensive coordinator. Anyway, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But whew, this offense, Austin Eckler, they gave him 4 carries. I don't like they don't get him involved in the rushing attack. Like it just confuses me because he's really good. And without Keenan Allen, this wide receiver core is bad. Even with Keenan Allen, it's mediocre at best, in my opinion. He's only aging. Mike Williams is an overpaid, in my opinion, wide receiver. And we're gonna also their defense is not as good as we thought it would be. Like this offseason, they let the Jags get 38 points. Um, and that's to be credit to the Jags and Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence for being able to do that. But 38 points is a lot, no matter the team. Like you can't be giving up 38 points and expect to win, especially the way your offense is playing. And they have talent everywhere. I don't know if it's a scheme issue or if they're just not disciplined enough or if like they're not executing. Um, but they need to fix something there. Like they have the talent to be a phenomenal defense. It's just not. It's not working for some reason. Um, my last note on this game is if you're down however many points it was in the third quarter, they were down what 31 to 10 in the third quarter. Even before that, at like halftime, not halftime maybe, but like once you're down like 30 to 10 or whatever, 24 to 10, Justin Herbert, get him out of the game. He has cracked ribs, and you're not doing him any justice keeping him in there injured, and you're just risking him getting hurt. And I'm starting to see that this is a reoccurring issue with the Chargers. They seem to not have good um, injury management, um, and I just think that they need to take more caution with Justin Herbert's injury, unless they want him to get injured, which would not be good. But so on to the Rams Cardinals game. I don't have many notes down for this game. I didn't really see I didn't read much about it. I didn't watch any of it really. The Rams beat the Cardinals 20 to 12, and the Rams continue their dominance of the Cardinals, and the Cardinals continue to struggle. And that's really all I have to say about that game. Sorry, Rams or Cardinals fans, but that's all I really have to say. But on to the next game, Falcons Seahawks. The Falcons beat the Seahawks 27 to 23, and the Falcons offense looks fun and exciting with Marcus Mariota and Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson. Mariota seems like he's playing well. He was 13 for 20, 229 yards, a touchdown. He had an interception. And then Cordero Patterson had himself a game. He had 17 carries for 141 yards and a touchdown. They finally got Kyle Pitts involved in the offense. He had 5 receptions for 87 yards. He was their leading receiver. And this offense looks fun and interesting, and Arthur Smith is doing a good job with what talent that he has. I'm sure the Falcons are still going to try to get a quarterback next year, if even with Mariota, even with Desmond Ritter. I think they're still going to be in contention for a spot to where they could pick a good quarterback out of this next draft, and I think the Seahawks will be right there with them. I mean, this game doesn't really mean much. It's just two bottom feeder teams playing against each other, so just a fun game to watch, I guess, if that's what you're into. No really fact nothing no results of this game would have changed the outcome of anything. Now on to the Packers Bucks. Both wide receivers cores were are well, the Buccaneers wide receiver core is injured. The Packers don't have a wide receiver core. So this game was just who can whose defense can stop the other team more. And the answer today was the Packers. The Packers beat the Buccaneers 14 to 12. Romeo Dubs, however you pronounce his name. He had a good game. Um, and Russell Gage also had a good game. Credit to Russell Gage, but this was basically a defensive battle. That's really what it came down to. And the Bucks had a chance to tie it late in the fourth but they just couldn't convert on the 2-point conversion. And credit to the Packers defense and credit to the Buccaneers defense. But this Buccaneers offense is starting to worry me a little bit because of all of the injury prone wide receivers. Tom Brady's looking not as good as we've seen Tom Brady in the past, which is valid because he is getting older. And without Bruce Arians, offense looks a little bit worse. Not as like it's not as like the scheme doesn't look as good as it was last year, and people like uh, I don't know what else to put into words, but that's just how I feel. Now on to the Sunday night game, the 49ers Broncos. The Broncos beat the 49ers 11 to 10. This was my least favorite game of the entire weekend slot, maybe of the year. A sloppy defensive battle. Both offenses struggled immaculately for different reasons. The Broncos struggled because of bad coaching and play calling and execution. The 49ers offense struggled because of Jimmy G he was and their offensive line because Trent Williams went down halfway through the game, and Jimmy G running out of the end zone for that safety basically summarizes what he is at this point. He's fine at best, and I don't. Maybe they don't win this game with Trey Lance, but at least maybe they do. But with Jimmy G, they should have came out and won this game. They're the better coached team, but they just couldn't move the ball on offense. Neither team could. Um, and I don't know what else to really say. Like, Debo Samuel was fine. Russell Wilson was fine. I'm still concerned about the Broncos and what their offense is. I'm not worried about their defense. I'm just worried about what their offense is going to be when they go against the Chiefs, when they go against the Chargers or the Raiders. Are they going to be able to compete within that division? Because that division seems like it's going to cannibalize itself at some point. And it just, I don't know how the Broncos figured this offense out, but they have to, because they're tied for first. They can win this division possibly if they figure something out. I just don't trust Nathaniel Hackett to do that as of right now. Um, Now on to the last game, Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, the Giants and the Cowboys. The Cowboys beat the Giants 23 to 16. The Giants lose to Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is now 3-0 as a starter. Mind blowing. Daniel Jones. Now we're gonna start with the Cowboys, and then I'll get to because I have more to say about the Giants than the Cowboys. Tony Pollard, great game. Cooper Rush, okay game. They did what they needed to win. Their defense was phenomenal. Their pass rush was getting to Daniel Jones every single play, basically. It felt like he was under pressure, and he just had no time to do anything. So good job for the Cowboys on being 2-1, better than I thought they would be at this point. But on to the Giants. It it seemed like Daniel Jones was being pressured on every drop back. He had no time to throw. I'm not really blaming this game on Daniel Jones. Same with like Carson Wentz. You can't expect like maybe like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but other than that, if a quarterback is being pressured every single play, it feels like that's not a recipe for success. Saquon, they got him going, but kind of diverged away from that in the second half. Their receivers didn't felt the receivers felt like they couldn't get open. At least at what I saw, it looks like they couldn't get open. So you had Daniel Jones being under pressure, the receivers not getting open. What do you expect to happen? In the fourth quarter, they were down a touchdown, had the ball with 4 minutes left, could not, couldn't convert. They couldn't do it. They couldn't come back. And just the offensive line looks abysmal. And all of this investment that they've done to it doesn't seem like it's working out, and it cost them the game. It cost them the game. The Cowboys only had 5 sacks, but I believe that they pressured Daniel Jones like 23 or 24 times, which was like the highest in his career, I believe. And just bad. They could not find a way to slow down the pass rush of the Cowboys, and they just looked lost. And I'm blaming that on the coaching staff, cause like, and Daniel Jones kind of, cause he needs to be better at recognizing pressures and getting the ball out. But if there's no one to get open, where is he gonna get the ball out to? You can't throw the ball away every single play. And I think it's an error on both parts, the coaching and Daniel Jones. They need to figure something out, because if they let this offensive line stay in this current state, it's not a recipe for success. Um, Now, last topic of the day, we're gonna preview Thursday night football. We're gonna so the Thursday night game is the Dolphins at the Bengals. It's in Cincinnati. I think I want the Bengals to win because I want our loss to be avenged, and I honestly think that that's possible. I think I think the Bengals offense is potentially better than the Dolphins, but the way the Dolphins have been playing, it looks they're favored to win, I believe. No, Cincinnati is favored by 3.5 somehow. But I'm rooting for the Bengals. I'm just a salty Bills fan, but I'm rooting for the Bengals to win. Um, but it looks like it's gonna be a great game, and we'll see what happens. But that's all I have for you today. Um, Thank you for coming out, first of all, listening to this podcast. If you enjoy it, share it with your friends and family. Help me get the word out there. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify and iTunes and TikTok and Twitter. Um, I should have my predictions out this week for week 4, Friday morning. It's looking like, and good job, or why am I saying good job? But thank you for coming out. Have a great rest of your day, and peace.